Laptops come in many shapes and sizes. There's the gentle mid-ranger that will tackle your productivity and entertainment needs, and the gaming laptop that will unleash the gladiator spirit in you. I'm Winston Chan from Pogda.net, and today we aren't going to be looking at those laptops. We have this little guy here, the Joi Classmate 10, which is designed for online classes, homework, and so before we address that, let's get to know the Joi Classmate 10 a little bit better. Or if you just want to skip to the accident, you can get right to the chapter with the timestamps. So without further ado, let's get started. As the name Joi Classmate 10 might suggest, it is a relatively simple laptop designed to be a study mate. And the hardware kinda shows, with a dual-core Intel Celeron processor and 4020 with Intel UHD graphics, which means it is powerful enough for office productivity and not much more. That's paired up with 4GB of RAM, as well as a 256GB Sata SSD and 128GB of eMMC storage. The display is a rather standard 11.6-inch HD display that we believe is a TN panel due to it looking rather dull, but hey, when is schoolwork not dull, am I right? Above the display, you can see the 1MP webcam. Some might scoff at the resolution, but it will suffice for your video conferencing needs. It is also quite unique in the way that can be flipped 180 degrees to show off what's behind your laptop as well. I/O-wise, Joi has been rather generous for a laptop of this caliber. There are 2 USB-A ports, 1 USB-C port, 1 headphone jack, a full-sized HDMI port, and a micro SD card slot. No RJ45 LAN, but it does have built-in Wi-Fi 5 and Bluetooth 4.2, which should be enough for most users anyway. Moving on, we take a look at the keyboard. Most of the keyboard is pretty standard, but it has an odd ISO layout which is different from the ANSI or US layout most of us are accustomed to here. The alphabet keys aren't affected, but you do have a shorter left shift with the backslash key there and a rather oddly shaped enter key. More on that later though. And that's about it for the overview and specifications of the Joi Classmate 10. For more information, you can check out the official landing page, which we have linked down in the description below. And now let's talk about the user experience. When we discuss the user experience of this laptop, we will definitely have to look at it from a student's point of view. I mean, the name Classmate should have you understand that much, right? So let's simulate the current situation that students are facing. You need a class to attend, productivity software like Microsoft Office, Google Docs, or if you are particularly adventurous, the open source LibreOffice, and of course, a cup of coffee bank to stay awake. The experience of using the Joi Classmate 10 in general is pretty acceptable. You can definitely expect it to run smoothly and handle any class well on just about any platform out there. The small screen can still provide a decent experience, and the speaker is actually good enough to hear the presenters quite clearly. That of course heavily depends on your choice of presenter though. We also tried out the 1MP camera, and for those who are concerned about privacy, there's a little LED that lights up beside the camera to indicate that it is active. As you can see, our video guy here is already looking quite bored from the introductory class, but that's no fault of the laptop. Well, we did say that coffee will help you stay awake, but it won't help you stay interested in your lessons. We then kicked off a company meeting so he can pay more attention since our boss Super Daddy is here. And you also get a chance to hear how the laptop sounds like.
Mascot, we can probably expect the XPGT 50 Asus Blizzard limited edition to be China exclusive, for better or worse.
I guess it is acceptable for most intents and purposes. And hey, would you like to join an online class from Pogda University? How's the experience like, you ask? Well, it's just like a classroom. It's gonna be dry. Like my joke. Haha. My main complaint with the Joi Classmate 10 is probably its ISO keyboard. We can always get used to it, and in fact over 3 1-minute typing test runs, we managed to get a better score each time. I guess you can always get used to this stuff, but I still wish Joi went with a standard US keyboard layout that we are used to. And of course, aside from regular word processing, students nowadays will also have to do some content creation, so we can't skip tests involving basic content creation. We'll be seeing how it will handle some simple video editing and basic image manipulation. Of course, we don't expect the Intel Celeron processor here to handle Premiere Pro or After Effects, so we went with something much lighter. That would be the TikTok Jianying app. It is the lightest and simplest video editor we have seen thus far, but it is sufficiently well stocked in terms of features. Editing a FHD video clip, the experience was smooth and fully acceptable. We did speed up the footage here, but the overall user experience is still very usable. So yeah, based on what we have seen, the Joi Classmate 10 is capable of some basic content creation. The CPU might struggle a little, but it works. We are only looking at usability, so while it might not be the fastest or smoothest experience, it is good enough for students to churn out some basic video or photos for their classwork. Now, since we are on the topic of content creation, we do want to highlight the storage situation on the Joi Classmate 10. It comes with a 256GB Sata SSD, which is probably a bit small, but there's also a built-in 128GB of eMMC storage, which in total should be more than enough for most people. For schoolwork, I think this combination is more than adequate. If paired with cloud storage, say OneDrive, you would have more than sufficient room for your entire school year, and maybe more if you aren't a hoarder. We don't expect you to just work on the Joi Classmate 10, some entertainment to loosen up is definitely necessary. Will the Classmate 10 also be a good friend 10 and serve up some good old fun times? Well, YouTube definitely works fine, no doubt about that. And maybe we want to do a bit of gaming. I mean, playing with your classmates is just as important as learning with them, right? I saw my cousin talking about this game called Fortnite, so we fired it up. Apparently it is what kids are into nowadays. Well, after looking at how it runs on the Joi Classmate 10, I wouldn't call this gaming, but at least we managed to get it up and running. So I guess that counts. Okay, now let's get to the most interesting part about the Classmate 10. So let's talk about the accident we had with the laptop. According to the official information, the laptop is designed to withstand 100 cc's of water and falls from up to 2 meters high. So yeah, it wasn't exactly an accident. Or was it? Anyway, our table is just 90 centimeters tall, while the laptop is rated for up to 2 meter drops. So it survived just fine. And it is probably worth mentioning that to get this shot here, we have dropped the laptop at least 3 times and spilled water on it at least 5 times. So yeah, we can safely say that the Joi Classmate 10 has survived our test lab. I believe we have said enough about the Joi Classmate 10 by now. It is really quite affordable at RM1299, and as its name implies, it is a good classmate. It excels as a student companion, can handle light content creation, and at the same time survives drops and spills. Kinda sounds like a teenager, don't you think? I do wish that we had more horsepower here, and maybe a bit more RAM, as 4GB can be quite limiting during multitasking sprees. And the keyboard layout is definitely not my thing. Not sure why did Joi decide that an ISO keyboard layout would be suitable here, when most of our keyboards here in Malaysia are of the US layout. And that's it for our review of the Joi Classmate 10. I think it is a great laptop to get for your kids, or even your clumsy old self, but there are some drawbacks that you must be aware of. What do you think of it? Do you need a laptop that can survive the occasional, or not so occasional, spill and fall? Let us know. As usual, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't already, make sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook for more content like this. I'm Winston Chan from Podder.net, and I will see you guys in the next video. Sayonara!